Hello everybody, and welcome to Whiz, your family-friendly podcast where we discuss D&D Onslaught, Dice Masters, HeroClix, and the other entertaining games made by Whiz Kids. I'm WizDad, that one D&D mini or expansion that you only sorta wanted, but now that I'm on sale, man, do I sound enticing. I mean, when's the next time I'm gonna be 15% off? That, covers shipping, right? I will be your guide for navigating the competitive and casual scenes of the WizKids Triforce of gaming. It's Onslaught Wednesday. We will be continuing our discussion on the Ancient Construct OP Kit scenarios. But before that, though, let's talk about some interesting sales in the WizKids Progress Report.
Kowalski, Progress Report.
In today's WizKids Progress Report, there's a few things I wanted to cover. First off, no updates really on... this isn't Onslaught related specifically, but obviously there's only 2 days left in November, so there's been no movement as far as House of X goes for Dice Masters, just an FYI. As far as the solicits go. Additionally, in the solicits, there's been no additional solicits for Onslaught, so they still have not put out the future releases, aka the Sellsword expansion that we saw a couple weeks ago at this point. It's not that concerning. From what I understand, it's still, they're getting back from vacation. I expect it should go up hopefully in December at some point. And I'm hoping we also get some insight to maybe some more goodies of Onslaught down the road, right? At this point, we know that there's just the Sellsword expansion. We don't know what is next. Whereas with HeroClix, right, we have a pretty good knowledge of what's happening in the next 6 months to 7 months. So Onslaught really needs to get on board with getting their info out there more. So that way retailers can and stores can go ahead and pre-order, get those orders into the distributors. So that would be nice if they did. That would make it a little bit easier. I was going to talk about sales today. There are two significant sales, and guess what? No, this isn't during Black Friday or Cyber Monday, right? It's Wednesday. But, it's kind of like that bridge period with holidays. So, yeah, the first thing I want to talk about is Bricksmas is what they're calling it. It's HeroClix specific related. So, sorry, D&D Onslaught fans, you can hold on for a minute. But basically, this promo is actually pretty incredible. It's on their WizKids store. If you go to the webpage, you'll see it. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know if they actually put that in there, how long it lasts. But basically, if you buy a brick of Avengers 60th, you get Avengers Forever, a brick of Avengers Forever for free. That's pretty cool. Keep in mind, these bricks cost $169, so they are MSRP, but if you add in the fact that the other bricks also cost say 140, 150, you're saving money, right? You're getting them, basically you're getting these bricks at what the stores would have to pay, if that makes sense. Your LGS probably pays about $100 for a brick of Avengers, probably less than that actually, probably $80 to $90. But that's only one of 3 deals. You could also buy a brick of Notorious and get Batman Team Up. That is a great idea. That's a great deal right there. Both 2 well-loved sets. The chases in both, well, I guess the chases in Notorious are a little bit, obviously much more desirable than the Batman Team Up Scooby-Doo chases. But we're not done there, friends. Oh, wait, there's more. You can buy a brick of Wheels of Vengeance and get a brick of Spider-Man Beyond Amazing. That is where I think the deal is. Both sets are good. Both sets have good things in them. I believe a lot of Beyond Amazing still holds up. You still have good pieces in that set, especially the chases that are worth the money. And obviously Wheels of Vengeance is the newest set. So, very, very cool. I think it's neat that they're doing, effectively, you're going to end up paying, everything's said and done with shipping and taxes, what, $200? So $200 for 2 of the newest bricks, it bundles down to $100. That's not bad. $100 a brick, I should say. That's good. That's a really good price. I am debating it. Having kids of my own, I'm not sure if I'm going to go down that road. I might actually for Christmas presents. I hadn't thought about that. I was thinking for myself, but that might make a good Christmas present. Being able to get effectively 2 modern bricks. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. The other thing I wanted to throw out there was the miniature market. I don't know if you've ever heard of this company. If you're listening to this, you probably have. They sell miniature games, trading card games, role-playing games. They kind of cover everything. They are having their kind of end-of-the-year clearance sale. And there are some very good deals in there that you should look into. Not anything D&D Onslaught specific. Basically, that like no D&D Onslaught like expansions or anything out there, but they do have a lot of the Whiz Kids unpainted minis out there for cheaper. So some of them, typically go for $5. They go for $2.50, something like that. They've got a one of the Frameworks Night Hags, which it's a much bigger mini. Not like hugely different, but it's a much more detailed mini. And this one has like think of it like a Hansel and Gretel, because there's like a gingerbread man and like a lollipop and stuff. This one typically is $24, or sorry, $25. It's down to $16. They have a lot of their other minis that are only like $1, $2.50. They have a feat, like if you know, obviously Chloe, Amaznadel. She is if you look at her sculpt in Onslaught, they actually have other versions of it that they released as female half-elf bard. So you can look for that. It's the same. It is Chloe. It's just she's standing up strumming her lute. So check it out. I'm thinking about picking up some of these minis, especially like a beholder. I believe they had a beholder out here for a reasonable price, which obviously if you have the benefactor set, remember the benefactor set does not come with minis. If you want that benefactor, that beholder, which isn't really spoilers, if you look at the box, it's a big old beholder on it. Go ahead and get one, so that way you could get one for cheap. They got some really cool looking ones out here. They've got some monks, male elf clerics. The beholder is $18. It's one of the D&D Frameworks one. It's usually $40, so that's a pretty good price. Go ahead and get your minis, so that way you can upgrade them. And I think there's some proxies out here you can use as well. There's some goblin sorcerers and rogues and stuff like that. So definitely take a look at Miniature Market. I believe this goes through like December 4th. Yeah, but through Monday. So you got some time. The last thing I want to mention is if anybody did not listen to my Mashup Monday episode, I did go over some changes that happened kind of low key. They didn't really advertise it, but remember, for HeroClix and Dice Masters, they have the rules changes and the erratas on the Win, the WizKids Information Network, I guess that's what it's called. But for Onslaught, it's on the dndonslaught.com webpage, and that's where they update changes. And so erratas and stuff, or any balance issues, are addressed on the FAQ, which is on the resource page. We got on November 21st, so a little over a week ago, we did get an update on there. And I'll read the Onslaught one again, just in case you didn't listen to Mashup Monday. The update is this. In the interest of competitive balance, the Chloe Amaznadel Inspiring token no longer adds damage bonus. It now reads, Inspiring, Fading. Friendly characters at range 0 to 5 of Chloe Amaznadel gains +2 to die rolls while attacking. So effectively, she works just like she did before, but she doesn't give that damage bump. That damage bump is really what set things a little too much in her favor. She became a piece that effectively you could not just leave behind. She heals. This inspiration can make for a insane 2 rounds. Because effectively what you would do is you would have Chloe at the beginning of the initiative drop the inspiration. All the characters through the rest of the round would get the inspiration as long as they're within 5. And then next round you just put Chloe at the end of the activation, so that way it doesn't fade until it's her next turn. So basically you can have all your characters have 2 turns of this inspiration, which is the +2 to die rolls, which die rolls, remember that, not attacking, not attack, die rolls. So you roll the 18 or 19, it turns it into a crit, and +1 damage. You can dish out so much damage off of one ability from one character. It was a little too nutty, and I think it made balancing a little iffy. If you look at the World Championship on my YouTube page, you could see that I believe both players played Chloe, and they both played Harper's because Harper's was incredibly strong. This does not mean Harper's are bad by any means. Chloe is still incredibly good. They're just not overpowered now. It kind of sets them back down because Chloe was just a little too oppressive. The rest of the changes on here, they mentioned that several cards in the Frogmire set are misprinted, at least the item cards. I mentioned that when I did my item card episode. Effectively, the Ascendant Focus should have the Ankh symbol on the back, and the bow should have the bow and arrow symbol on the back, this dragon sinew bow. They kind of got swapped, and I think I mentioned that. And then the back of the mini pocketed vestment should be yellow, not cursed black, so it's not a cursed item. And then they did an update to 2 of the monsters. The Bullywug Bodyguard's Protector ability is missing the word another. It should read, after an enemy at range 1 to 2 attacks another friendly mini, make a attack against the enemy. So that's fine, just cleaning up some words. And then finally, the zombie monster behavior in the Plague solo scenario, they should have an initiative of 3.5, not 2.5, so that gives you a little bit more time to get out there and save those innocent bystanders. Well, that's a lot with the WizKids progress report. Let's go ahead and talk about the next couple Ancient Construct OP kit events, scenarios. That's a mouthful.
Get your gear, little man. We're going fishing. And I mean now.
Alright, so here we're going to talk about scenarios 4 through 6. If you are looking for scenarios 1 through 3 of the Ancient Construct storyline, you can listen to my last Onslaught episode. It was a couple weeks ago because I took last week off for Thanksgiving. But definitely check that out. Once again, the events or the scenarios are listed on the D&D Onslaught page, so they have all of that out there in the event that you don't have this. Now the key thing is that you actually need the Onslaught mini, the Construct mini. So it isn't so easy that you don't have to pay anything and you can play it. You could technically play the scenarios without it. You could proxy it if you wanted to, especially if your store hasn't, picked up the kit or hadn't gotten it in yet. I know some distributors are a little finicky at times. So scenario 4 is called Sabotage. This one is where you start with the Arbalist version of the Ancient Construct. For this one specifically, let's see. So we are back in the base game, the base map. It's the one with not the throne in the middle, but the dragon statue. I gotta remember what the names are of both of those maps. Not the throne, but the more dungeony one with the stairs on the side. In this one, it looks like there are Cobalt Sentries, there's a Conke is back. There are starting areas in the middle of the map. Basically a 2x6 square in the middle for both the active player and the non-active player. And then your constructs are actually on the steps, which is very interesting. So you set up the map just like normal. Conke has a 4.5 initiative. You roll for initiatives. Each player places their ancient construct in their respective area, which is on the stairs, and then do not assign them variant cards. Next, the active player deals out the initiative cards, obviously, the 2 through 4, then 7 through 8. Randomly assign the 5 and 6 initiative cards, 1 to each ancient construct, and the 9 and 10 initiative cards, 1 to each ancient construct, placing these cards face up. So keep in mind, once again, you're not playing with a full party. The construct, well, it is a full party, but I should mention the ancient construct, remember, counts as 2 characters because it gets 2 initiatives. So it's the construct and 3 other characters. And the way they're doing it for the scenario is that 5 and 6 and 9 and 10 are the ancient construct. And you just randomly sign those out. So it's a little different. Basically, you get the 2 through 4 initiative cards. Basically, active player gets 1, the non-active player gets 2. Then you do the same with the 7 and 8 cards. Basically, active gets 1, non-player gets 1. It's a little much in this one. Having to do the card swaps. I love the initiative system, but I will say that the problem is that it could get a little wonky. Of how many cards do I get? You give me this card, I give you that card. Okay. While one ancient construct is uncontrolled, deal initiative cards as normal. That player whose ancient construct is uncontrolled must assign it an initiative card equal to or closest to 6, and an initiative card equal to or closest to 10, placing these cards face up before assigning initiative cards to their other characters. So that's where you know, basically you know with the construct when they're going before you assign the rest of your characters. Enraged in constructs. Okay, while an ancient construct is uncontrolled, I assume they're explaining control in a little bit, is uncontrolled, it is not considered friendly to any characters, and it is ignored by monsters. Uncontrolled ancient constructs do not gain XP. Reduce the cooldown dials of each uncontrolled ancient construct at the end of each round as normal. When an uncontrolled ancient construct activates, it performs the first action listed below. If it cannot, it attempts to perform the next action, and so on. If there is ever more than one valid target for an attack, the opponent chooses the target. So the first thing is self-repair. So if self-repair is available and your hit points is 6 or below, use self-repair. If empowering rend is available, and you can move up to your speed towards the closest character belonging to the same player as this ancient construct, stopping at range 2, do so, and use empowering rend targeting that character. So that's where it's kind of like enrage and attacking your own people. If there's a character belonging to the same player as this ancient construct at range 2 to 4, use the chain fist attack. And then the final one it could do is move up to your speed towards the closest character belonging to the same player as this ancient construct, stopping if adjacent. Then, if you are adjacent to that character, perform the smash attack, targeting that character. If not, move again up to your speed towards the closest character belonging to the same player as this ancient construct, stopping if adjacent. So it's very much a wild and crazy construct that is going to attack your own team. If an uncontrolled ancient construct would suffer damage, it uses deflect attack if able. Regaining control. When an uncontrolled ancient construct activates, if it is bloodied, it performs no actions. When a character is adjacent to an uncontrolled ancient construct that is bloodied and belongs to the same player, it gains the following action. Reactivate, standard action. Gain control of this ancient construct. Assign it the Defender, Grappler, Soldier, or Arbalist variant card. You may ignore normal list building rules. That's cool. So you don't have to worry about rolls or anything. So basically, you have to get the ancient construct down to bloodied status, at which point you can take it over. Akanke. The Akanke token is not considered a monster or character and cannot be the target of any attacks or abilities. It cannot suffer damage, cannot gain condition tokens, and does not block line of sight or movement. However, characters and monsters cannot end their movement overlapping the Akanke token. While moving the Akanke token, treat Akanke speed as 4 and obey all movement rules as if moving as a monster. At the beginning of each round, this is reinforcements. At the beginning of each round, starting with the non-active player, Players alternate spawning monsters overlapping or adjacent to neutral end zones. Cobalt Sentry can be spawned only if there are 3 or fewer Cobalt Sentries. Continue alternating players spawning one monster at a time until no more monsters are spawned. So cool. Your objectives, the key points. Defeat a Cobalt Sentry, 1 victory point. There's going to be plenty of those. They keep popping in. Defeat an enemy character, 2 victory points. That's going to be pretty easy because you're right next to each other. Like, there's 6 squares separating you and another one. The starting zone. So you could just go get for your opponent, just for victory points. And then at the end of the game, gain 2 victory points for controlling an ancient construct, even if it was defeated. So, pretty self-explanatory. This one's interesting. You could just go directly against your opponent, try to take out some characters, score those 2 victory points. The Cobalt Sentries are not that far away, probably 5 squares away. So you can't just completely ignore them. They are just right around the corner and they could take you out. And then you also have your construct. So I actually like this. It's really, you're bottled in and you're kind of stuck in the middle of a rampaging construct that's going to come attack your team. And the kobolds and the enemy team. So while you want to initially just go for the enemy team, you can't just ignore the fact that the kobolds are coming up there and they do some damage. And the construct's going to be coming up, just hitting you, smashing you, overpowering, rending you. So I like that. You kind of start in the middle and you're like, oh no, I've got to make decisions. So that's cool. I like the concept of this. It gives you the option of just going straight PvP, but it comes at a potential cost. You have to decide whether you want to leave yourself open like that. The next scenario is called Clash. This one takes us back to the throne room, as I'm going to be calling it now. There's 2 starting areas, and then this is the one where you get the Apothecary variant part, the double-sided Mage Apothecary variant card. This one has Kobold Cultists and Gnolls in it. Effectively, why do they... That's interesting. Oh, I see. So... Gnolls and... Okay. So set up the map, prepare the loot, roll initiative, like normal. Each player rolls 2 dice. The winner chooses to either control the young Etten or the young Troll. Whichever they do not choose will be controlled by their opponent. Huh. So each player gets a... That's interesting. So each player controls either the young Etten or the young Troll. There's a controlled monster field, respectively. When a controlled monster activates, the player that controls that monster performs actions with it as if activating a character. Use the large character rules when moving the young Etten and the young Troll, and when determining line of sight to or from them. And when determining line of sight to and from them. Controlled monsters are treated as friendly characters for the players that controls them, and then as enemy characters for the opponent. Controlled monsters cannot loot chests, gain loot tokens, or equip items. Makes sense. Extra experience. When a character defeats a Kobold Cultist, they gain 1 XP. When they defeat a Gnoll, they gain 2 XP. This XP is in addition to a standard XP for an attack that hits. Cool. And then extra loot. After a character loots a chest, instead of removing the chest, place 1 damage on the chest token. If it has 2, remove the chest token. We've talked about this one before, that it's a cool concept where a chest is not just a chest it's a bigger chest. Think of it like a bigger chest in Zelda. You know, it's not like the little chest that Link kicks and then you get a little key out of. It's a bigger chest that you get. Well, you don't really get 2 things out of it, but think of it like you just get 2 things out of it. So this is interesting. So for objectives, you get 1 victory point for taking out an enemy character. You get 2 victory points for taking out an enemy young Etten or young Troll. So that is neat. You get to use those Etten and Trolls from the base game. 1 gets a young Etten, 1 gets a young Troll. I like that. It's kind of a little different, right? Because you get... Let's see. The active player assigns a variant to their ancient construct and chooses 3 other characters. The non-active places their ancient construct of one of their chosen characters in one of their starting areas, places the young Eden and the remaining two. So you get a construct, 3 characters, and then either the young Eden or the young troll. That's cool. So you're fighting with a big force here. And this one really is just kind of a slog, right? Because you're not attacking. You don't get victory points for Cobalt. You get extra XP. It's really just me versus you. That's why it's called Clash, right? It's a PvP. So you have to go against their ancient construct, their young troll or Etten, or their characters. Now, I don't see any cards here to show what the young troll or Etten does. I assume they use the stats of... Well, maybe they have cards in the actual thing. They don't have it listed here. So, I don't know if that is... that might just be part of the kit. So, either way, that sounds fun. That the fact that you get to wield the construct that effectively is 2 characters, a monster, and 3 characters, that could lead to some fun interactions. And then the last one we are going to talk about is Betrayal. Oh no. This one is back in the tomb or whatever it is with the dragon statue in the middle, not the throne room. This one has a Conke's back, get some kobold sentries, armored gnolls, and loot goblins. Ooh, loot goblins, that's nice. This is the mage variant version of the construct. In this case, you are rolling for initiative like normal. You get 4 characters. Wait, hold on. The active player assigns one of the 6 variants to their ancient construct, chooses 3 other characters from their faction. Then the non-active player assigns one of the 6 variants, chooses 3 other characters from their faction, places all 4 in the starting areas. The starting areas is the stairs. You have the same Akonke special rules as before. You can capture Akonke, though, this time around. Characters adjacent to an uncaptured Akonke token gain the following action. Capture, which is a standard action. Roll 1d20. Add 5 to your roll for each other friendly character adjacent to Akonke that is not dazed or stunned. If you get a 16 through 20, place the Akonke token under your miniature to indicate you have captured it. A captured Akonke token remains captured by the character and moves with the character until an effect causes it to become uncaptured. If a character with a captured Akonke token gains dazed or stunned or is bloodied or defeated, place the Akonke token in an empty adjacent square chosen by the opponent. The token is now uncaptured. And then at the end of each round, you will keep spawning in armor gnolls and sentries. You also get the extra XP function from the kobold sentries or loot goblins. And there's also the extra loot function as well. The objectives for this scenario, which this being the final scenario, is defeat a kobold sentry or loot goblin, 1 victory point. Alright, so PvE. Defeat an enemy character, 2 victory points. Alright. Defeat an armored gnoll, 3 victory points. Now the armored gnolls, they do come back. It is armored gnolls or kobold sentries. So keep that in mind. They do come back. And at the end of the game, gain 4 victory points for controlling a character with a captured Akonke token. So, it's important to go get Akonke. Akonke's in the middle of the map, right next to these spawn points. So this is very much a... how would I say this? Where is... The armored gnolls are up on the little hills on the north and south part of the map. You respawn the gnolls, the armored gnolls, if there are 1 or fewer armored gnolls. So, if I was playing this scenario, I'd probably honestly be going for the armored gnolls. They're worth 3 victory points. They're worth more than the enemy characters. So, split the party a little bit. Half the people go for Akonke, or at least to slow down your opponent from getting Akonke, and then the others go after the armored gnolls, and then meet back up in the middle, because the spawn points are in the middle around Akonke, so that's where the armor gnolls would pop back up. So I would probably tackle this a little bit more PvE, because they're worth more points for the armored gnolls. I don't know if I would necessarily be going after the Cobalt Sentry. Well, I mean, I'll take them out, but I'm not going to be, like, farming them, I guess I should say. Now, Akange does attack this time around. So it can't be a damage or anything like that, but Akange does attack, does some burning damage. The armor gnolls are on initiative 5.5, Akange's 4.5, and the loot goblins are 9.5. Cobalt sentries are 10.5. So a lot of monsters out on the field. You're kind of racing down, trying to get Akange, which is funny because obviously if you're playing this whole thing, you're trying to play to get Akange. So that's cool. I like this one as well. These scenarios thus far are unique, right? It shows the flexibility of Onslaught. It shows the capabilities of Onslaught of being able to take just the same maps but present different scenarios, different ways of earning victory points, and interesting ways of having to interact with effectively kind of similar characters and similar monsters, right? Like these 6 scenarios, they didn't use anything from Frogmire, obviously, because this is built around, this came out around the same time as Frogmire, and it'd be kind of lame to have a storyline OP kit that required the newest expansion. Like next year, sure, you can start tying that in with the expansion. Hey, use these maps. Because I don't think it required... None of the maps required the Frogmire, right? I'm not crazy. Let me look at 1 through 3. I can't remember now. It's been a couple weeks. No, they're all in the base map. So heavily utilizing the base map, but making it interesting, I think, is neat. And that's the cool thing, is this game will expand so much by adding more maps. That's really where D&D Onslaught, I think, is going to grow. So I think that's going to do it for today's episode. This one was a little bit on the shorter side, but I think that's okay. We got through the Ancient Construct OP kit. I'll remind you again, if you don't have one, go get one. The Ancient Construct's pretty neat. See if your store could schedule it or order it. Especially with the new Sellsword expansion pack, these Sellswords are now skyrocketing up as one of the better factions, and now that in January they'll be able to be played on their own without having to you could technically play with a construct and the 4 that we have, but with the additional 4 that we're getting, Sellswords could be pretty potent. I think the Ancient Construct's neat. I really need to go ahead and get mine so that way I can play around with it and just see how strong it is. But thank you guys for listening to this episode of Whiz. We will be back on Friday for some HeroClix talk. There's lots of stuff happening in HeroClix. A lot of things coming out. A lot of things. We might talk some meta. We haven't talked meta in a while. So stay tuned on Friday for some HeroClix Friday. You guys have a great day.